Hello and welcome Digital Marketer Lab members to Office Hours. This is a weekly live training webinar we host every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m. Central. I am your host. My name is Jenna Snavely. I'm the content manager in charge of production here at Digital Marketer. So if you're new to Office Hours, and I know some of you will be, each week we cover a different specific marketing strategy with a new expert guest. This is absolutely words. This is absolutely recorded. It will be inside your lab members dashboard within 24 hours. Unfortunately, it will only be accessible to those of you who are Lab Plus, and Lab Elite free members. The replay will be available for just a little bit on the registration page. But those of you here with us live, you have the added benefit of getting your questions answered by our guest. And this week, we'll be talking with none other than Mr. Tom Breeze. He's the founder and CEO of Viewability. They're an agency that specializes in YouTube advertising. They also offer training. He's been our go-to when it comes to YouTube here at DM. And what I love about Tom is that he approaches conversion and YouTube ads and paid traffic like a science. And he's also just a really nice guy, and he can rock a suit vest, as you can see in that picture. How's it going, Tom?
Thank you very much for that lovely intro, Jenna. Yeah, very good.
Of
Very
course.
good. How are things with you?
I'm doing great. It's beautiful here in Austin. It's a little hot, but I love it. I did a poll at the beginning of this, and it
Oh yeah.
looks like about 70% of our viewers today are kind of on the learning and not really super aware of how the YouTube advertising works. So just keep
Hmm.
that in mind as we go through
Of course, yeah. I'll get geeky, but I'll keep everyone with me.
this.
That's the plan.
I like that. Well, I'll let you kick it off.
Alrighty, thank you so much. And yeah, everybody, welcome to the call and the presentation here. I'm going to be talking primarily about a YouTube ad formula that served us ridiculously well for a long time. I run a YouTube ad agency here in the UK. We work with clients all over the globe, mainly in the US actually. And you can probably tell by my accent, I'm from the UK. I was going to say from like somewhere in Texas or something like that, but
From
no.
Wyoming.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, I'm from the UK, and so we are very reserved. Typically, that's kind of who we tend to be. We'll say sorry for everything, and we will be very, very polite to your face. Behind your back will be another thing altogether. But taking that into consideration, when it comes to YouTube advertising, when I work with clients or when we do videos ourselves, we tend to be very, very good at conversion without having to be really kind of like out there and extroverted and really pushy or anything like that. We are very, very good at keeping that Britishness of being reserved, but getting the message across in such a compelling way that it makes people want to go and buy. And that's the difference here. I want to make you create videos that are videos that create this need and this want in your customers to want to come and buy your products. So it doesn't feel like you're selling, it's almost allowing them to purchase, which is a very different psychology, but we'll get deep into this and give you some very, very practical steps so that you know exactly what to do to create incredible videos. And of course, my kind of background being an agency owner specializing in purely YouTube ads. We don't do any other type of advertising with our clients. We don't do websites. We don't do branding or anything like that. We just do YouTube ads, creating the videos and running the campaigns. But really what I'm teaching here is it doesn't just have to be YouTube. It can be a whole ad formula for any video you create. So it is really a video ad formula that you can take into your business, whether you use this on Facebook, YouTube, any other platforms you might be doing. If you're running some Google ads, you can kind of almost like do a display ad pointing directly to a landing page that has a video on it. This kind of really is just a really, really effective way of communicating with your customers. And it will sell any product or service. So if you're in the e-com space, or if you're selling physical products, or maybe you have services or trainings or education that you want to put together and sell, this is a really, really effective formula for you. And it's actually not that difficult. All the complication goes behind the scenes, but what you actually go and do is actually pretty simple. But I just want to give you the story to how this actually all came about. Because if you are running ads for your business, you probably looked at video as an option to run, but it can be a little bit daunting. So just so you know you're in the right place, this is for people that are completely new to advertising, so never really done it before, but know the concept of what we're doing when it comes to advertising on these, and it's digital advertising. I'm talking really primarily around Facebook and YouTube. But with kind of like with my special kind of area of being YouTube. But if you're completely new to advertising, this has been really, really helpful for you. And also, if you're like an advertising pro, you probably know that video can unlock so much for yourself or for your clients if you're doing it for clients. And if you're an advertising pro and you find that you might struggle to scale sometimes, or you just know that if you have better creative, you could scale to that next level, this presentation is going to really help you as well. So what offers should you be thinking about when it comes to your business, and what offers work with this formula? Well, as I said, physical products work really well. Service-led businesses can work really well with this. And if you're doing lead gen, that works incredibly well with this. And this will fit with your current funnel. So you don't need to go and think about, right, I've got a webinar and I want to use that webinar. That's fantastic. Use your webinar. This will plug into this to give you webinar leads and webinar registrations. If you had some sort of video training, great, we can point people there. If you had a free trial, if you had a physical product, whatever it is, this will fit with whatever your offer is right now. And it's going to be one of the best ways you can promote your business. Hopefully what you're doing as a business is solving a problem in some way. If you're selling some sort of luxury item, for example, that isn't necessarily solving a direct problem, it might be slightly different. But really with any product, you're always solving some problem. So it might not be the presenting problem. Someone might say, oh, I really want this beautiful watch. But that watch is solving a problem for them, whether it's a status thing, whether it's a they don't know what kind of type of watch to buy, for example, but they have the money behind them. You're always going to be solving a problem in some way, shape, or form, but it is a lot easier if someone's wanting a solution to a problem that already exists for them. So how do I create a video ad, for example? That's what we're doing today. That's a problem that people have. And they know that their video ads could be a lot stronger typically, but they don't know how to do that. They don't know what specific steps to take. And that's how I solve problems for people. If it could be innovative, all the better. That's going to really help because you can create some really cool story around that and people can immediately just buy into what it is that you have as a solution. You also want to make sure if you're advertising, you know who your audience are and you can reach them. Sometimes when we run YouTube ads for clients, when they inquire, we might actually say to them, hey, look, this is not a great fit for YouTube ads because your audience just aren't out there. If you're selling some sort of heavy machinery that's brand new on the market and it solves a problem for somebody, they're probably not going to YouTube for that type of thing. So it's going to be difficult to reach that audience easily. It might work really well on LinkedIn, for example, or Facebook, but it might, like some platforms aren't always right. So you got to choose your platform wisely and make sure you can actually reach your audience, because otherwise this video ad is not going to work if you can't show it to the right people. That's pretty obvious. With your offer, you obviously want to make sure that you've got some good margin in there, because when you're running ads, you need to make sure you have that margin in there. That doesn't necessarily directly impact the videos we create, but it's just good practice more than anything else. But you definitely want to be running this video ad that we create here to an offer that converts. That's really important, because if you don't have a good offer, no matter how good you're creative, no matter how well you target your audience, it's always going to be difficult. So I think a big question I often get asked when I go on podcasts or whenever I'm speaking on stage or anything like that is like, people often say like, why don't people do YouTube ads? Like no one's doing it, why not? And that's a really good question. And it kind of almost boils down to, well, why don't we do more video? Why are people not actually creating videos to promote their businesses? They might do a little bit on Facebook and try a few things, but very rarely do you see companies actually going after YouTube advertising. And the way the things are going right now, with Facebook getting a little more volatile, it's not quite as easy to get the results that it once was. The prices are going up. Everyone's seeing that now. And YouTube is like this green pasture that no one's really tapping into just yet. And I think the big reason is because it's difficult. It's difficult to create a really, really good video. And it's daunting and it's expensive and it's hard and it's complicated. So that's why I want to put this together. So you can go through this and actually realize it can actually be a hell of a lot easier. So let's walk it through together. The big problems that I see is normally a fear of tech. So many people ask me like, what camera should I use and what mic should I use? I mean, everything on the market these days is pretty good. So don't worry about that. That's not going to hold you back. If you've got an iPhone and a plug-in lapel mic, then you're good to go. You're going to be able to create perfect videos with that. You don't need much more than that. If you have a fear of presenting, that can often hold a lot of people back, which is understandable. I used to my first business was teaching people how to feel comfortable when they're presenting in public, and it was removing those anxieties. That's kind of, I had a psychology background. So with that in mind, I know that people genuinely fear this, but the beauty of this program, or this like approach to video, is that you don't even need to be on camera at all with this formula that I'm going to be showing you. You can either have, you can sometimes appear in a slightly different format, so you could be like an expert being interviewed, or you can just not appear at all, or you can have it so some of your staff might feature in the videos or something along those lines. So there's so many different ways of doing it, and it doesn't require you to be on video, which is a big relief for a lot of people. A lot of people have a fear of failure. I know that I have that now, and that's being like completely honest. Whenever I create a video, I'm super scared about releasing it, just because I'm the video guy, and so the pressure's really on. So I always have that kind of that worry that videos are going to flop. But we build this in such a way where we know we can't really have that happen any longer, because we don't go out there and just go and try and shoot one video. That's putting all your eggs into one basket. When we do a shoot, we're actually planning for about 5 to 10 videos. So I'll talk a little bit about like how that is structured later. A lot of people say, do you have to create a Harmon Brothers type video where it has to be really funny and really engaging and shot in an incredible way and probably cost you $500,000 to put together? Not at all. What Harmon Brothers do is incredible, and it's not right for every business, of course. We don't all have that ability to drop $500,000 into creating a video, for example. So it feels that there's just like the training around how to create a really solid video just doesn't seem to be out there, and hopefully we can remedy that. Sometimes people think, well, do I have to be some sort of guru in my garage creating videos? Again, no. Most of our clients, or I think nearly all of our clients, are not kind of those sorts of people. And also we work with a lot of kind of guru type brands, so to speak. There's like individual personal brands that are very, very well known, but it's not them as a brand that's carrying the video. Yes, they're great at presenting, and yes, the brand definitely helps, but it's how the video is structured and what we're pulling into that video that makes the video what it is. And some people also kind of like think about this consideration of like, well, is it a case of just throwing as much mud at the wall, like trying to create anything we can and just seeing what works? And they go and hire this video production team to go and try and film some stuff, and it gets very expensive, and you're like, well, we're just gonna go and test a load of stuff out. But that is super expensive to do it that way, and normally works out terribly, because you go and shoot this stuff, you're underprepared, you don't know what you're shooting, you get there, you film the stuff, you get it back, and you're like, well, we've got a load of stuff here, like, and clients do this to us all the time. They just say, hey, have a look at this Dropbox folder or this Google Drive folder. I've got so much footage in there you're gonna love. I go in there, I'm like, yeah, it's some good stuff in there, but it's all just random pieces. It's not been thought through beforehand. And when you do it that way, it just makes everything very, very expensive. And if you just plan beforehand, do that pre-production, it makes life a lot easier. So I want to say that, look, I completely get it. I understand where people are at. I've spent years trying to kind of like work this one out. I'm not sure why my slide is wanting to go quickly across, but anyway, it doesn't really matter too much. So I've spent years myself trying to figure this out, and it's not easy. It's not easy when you haven't got a plan, put it that way. And I want to show you there is a plan. You can follow it, and you'll get great results. So as you know, my name is Tom Breeze. I'm CEO of Viewability and also on tombreeze.com. So I run an agency called Viewability, and we're also a Premier Google partner. So we work very, very closely with Google, looking to always see what sort of things are coming out all the time to try and create more and more types of video created to try and crack the game with the advertising. We specialize in YouTube advertising, and as an agency, we oversee over $100,000 per day in ad spend across many different niches or niches and working with clients all over the globe. We are a results-based agency, so the way we do things, we also almost like have two divisions. We have the creative division and we have the ad buyer division, so to speak. So the creative division are all about creating the videos, obviously, and then the ad buyers are just kind of running the accounts. And the way we set things up with clients is that we actually fund everything. So we don't charge for video creative right now. We will do in the future, but we fund the advertising and clients pay us for results. So we carry a lot more risk. But the reason I tell you that, and the reason why I tell you that we're a results-based agency, like the true form of it, we spend, clients pay us the results. The reason I tell you that is because this is showing you that what we do doesn't have to be kind of a made up, like, oh, I think this might work really well. This is fun to talk about. We go and test everything. We work out what works, we work out what doesn't work, and we go deep on it. We understand exactly how to make everything work. And therefore I can share it with you. We're very, very scientific about everything we do. We split test, we work out what results work, and then once we find winners, then we know how to replicate that. And I have a master's in psychology as well. So I went to university and I went to do my master's afterwards here in the UK. And I fell in love with the subject, absolutely love psychology, love understanding how people's minds work. And a lot of this stuff is based on this, is understanding the customers you're getting in front of and what message to put in front of them to make them really connect with you. And so whilst it can get complicated, psychology, it's been worked out and unpacked so that you can then use it, and it's much more practical and you're just using the techniques that make this work as opposed to trying to kind of learn psychology. It's more a case of just follow this and it's got it built in, it's hard baked in to the formula here. So we've done videos with all different types of people across kind of the whole of mainly the States, as I say, from the golf niche to the coaching niche. We do work with people like ClickFunnels, and we've done work with Brenda Bouchard, Frank Kern, Amy Porterfield, Neil Patel, done loads of different promotions around different offers that people have, getting to understand really what actually works. And we've had some brilliant testimonials from people like Frank Kern and Neil Patel, Ryan Dice as well, from obviously Digital Marketer, as everybody should know, and James Franco as well. So we've worked with some amazing people, and we continue to, and consult as well. So we love this work, and I'm hoping that what we can teach you here is what we do at every level. It's not like we have some kind of crazy techniques for just the high-end people, and then we've dumbed it down in some way. What we know is what we teach and what we share with everybody. So it's not like it's we're hiding anything here. We want to just give you everything we've got. Now, when we focus on this, it's like, what do we actually want when we're running a video? Because we don't want a video. The benefit of like the video itself is so that we can do a few things. First of all, we want reliable ROAS, or return on ad spend. We want to make sure that we can spend $1 and get more than $1 back, and make that a very reliable relationship. So on Facebook or YouTube, we can say, right, for every dollar I spend, I get $2 back. And then it's a rinse and repeat. Now, it might be you get, for every dollar you spend, you get $1.50 back, or you might get $5 back, or you might even get $10 back. Some people get some crazy ROAS. The thing is here, what we're looking to do is saying, make it predictable and reliable. So, you know, every morning you wake up, you look at your ad account and you're like, great, we spent another $1,000 or $100 or whatever it might be, and you've made your $200 or your $2,000, and you're like, great, that's as expected every day, day in, day out, that's working for us. And it's reliable, because then you can sleep at night, you can relax, you know how your business is growing. If you have anything that's going on in the business, you just know that this is a reliable, predictable system that you've built for yourself, and that's what we want, and the video can unlock that. You also want scalable ROAS. So this is where kind of like more of a pro advertiser would be very, very aware of this, is that when you're running your accounts and you start to spend a lot of money, let's say, for example, you move from your, let's say, your $15,000 a month to $30,000 and then $50,000, and you're getting into the $100,000 a month and beyond. Now, when you get to that level, you start to realize you need a lot of creative quickly because you might see that you get some fatigue in your ad creative, so you need to keep on refreshing it. But also, your creative needs to really, really work, because as soon as you go exploring into those bigger audiences, it does require a much better ad. We can get away with some ads when we're really targeting the exact person we want to get in front of, and we can create like not such great ads and they'll still do pretty well, like because we're getting the perfect message in front of the perfect customer at the perfect time. When you're doing that, you should expect some pretty good results. But then once you start to scale and you look for bigger audiences, those audiences get slightly broader and they might not be quite so interested as your core group. Or if you're running to an intent-based audience, people who are searching for your stuff, you might have saturated the search and then you're starting to go for slightly broader search and then go into bigger audiences. And when that happens, you normally see that it's harder. And when you scale, you find you hit this kind of wall at some point where you're like, I can't really scale much further because it just doesn't work profitably. And the only way of fixing that, you could try and fix your funnel to make it even work even more effectively, sure, but there's going to be diminishing returns there. You're targeting, you're kind of like stuck. You've got your kind of, that's where you're at right now. The only thing that can salvage it is getting a better piece of creative. And that's normally going to come down to videos, better structure of campaigns potentially, of course, but really it's like if you've got great creative, you don't need to be some sort of genius ad buyer. Like it helps if you're a genius ad buyer, of course, but if you give a genius ad buyer amazing creative, they're going to like find it so easy to get you results and you're going to fall in love with them. You're going to have a great relationship. So your time is best spent creating amazing content. But you want it to be easy to do, right? You don't want to be there thinking, oh, wow, I've got to try and create this creative that is near impossible to do. And I've got to be some sort of creative ad genius, like, and come up with ideas like Ogilvy would have had to once upon a time, and be kind of like some sort of like ideation expert who's just coming up with these amazing ideas and each one of them converts really well. That's unrealistic as well. As an ad agency, I can tell you that we might have a good idea once every 6 months. We don't have them every single day and we're creating videos every single day. So we have to have a formula, and this is what we've honed over the years. So it's easy to do. And also, it actually has to work, right? We can't just have these ideas and go and play with them and see if they work or not. I want to know actually what works, what makes a great video great, like what specifics, what components of a video actually make it great. And so I was talking to my team about, this is probably about a year and a half ago now, where I was like, do you know, we have a slight formula, but I want to know the actual data, like what's actually happening in the account. Like, let's look at the numbers, the cold, hard numbers, and let's be honest with ourselves. Let's not get romantic. Let's just go deep into those numbers and understand exactly what's happening. I wonder if we can create some sort of formula or something. So I was like, give me the hard facts, solid numbers that proves which components of a video ad or what components of a video ad actually works. Like, should we do this? Should we do that? Should we have this part? Should we do this part? Like, let's go split test everything in multiple different niches. And it's hard work doing that, but it pays off ridiculously well. And the hard work that we've gone through means that you don't have to go through the hard work, which is great because I can just tell you what we found and what works best, and kind of share that with you now. So I was going through this data and I was going deep into the numbers and I was thinking to myself, look, if I could figure this out, if I can figure out exactly what actually works, everything will become simple. Like, we have discussions with our ad buyers internally. I have some consultants I work with as well. When we have those conversations, it's like, right, how else can we think about restructuring this campaign, and how else can we like think about a really clever remarketing strategy to wonder if we can shave off a few dollars per sale or a few dollars per lead? How do we do that? Like, and we go into depth. We go into huge amounts of depth, and it always boils down to, well, look, if we just had a better ad, this would be easier. Like, or if the website converted better, but that's really tough because once you've got that honed in, it's going to be difficult to improve that even more. It's just easier to get better videos to do. So, because real ad buyers do know that once you've got your audience dialed in and once your offer converts, then in order to scale, you really need better creative. It's all about your creative at that point. But even if you're getting started, it makes your life so much easier if you have a great bit of creative, because especially with video, like if it's an image ad or if it's a text ad, that's something. But with a video, it's harder to create one, which is one thing, but also it's a really kind of big engagement point for your customers. When people see a video, they don't forget it. They remember the video itself. We all do. We watch videos and we remember them if they make an impact on us. And that's what this is all about, like making sure we create an impact, but also make sure it converts as well. So I was pouring through this data. I still do to today. Like even today, I was going through an account and it took us about 4 hours to dig through all the data. And I was looking for these relationships to be like, well, what impacts one? How much is one a causal relationship with something else? Like if we do this, what actually happens? And if we look at these numbers, does that actually impact the video itself? And so it turns out there is a formula. So a cost per conversion, whether it be a lead or a sale, comes down to your view rate. This is purely on YouTube, and we don't need to go deep into what all of this is, but it's more of a focus on the fact that we're looking at the science behind the ad itself and the maths behind the ad itself, as opposed to looking at the kind of just the overall figures, like what components make a difference here. Now, the view rate is how many people engage with the ad. And if you multiply that by the cost per view, so the cost per people watching that video, and then you divide all of that by the click-through rate, which is the number of people that click from the number of people that saw the video, and multiply that by the website conversion rate, like how well is the website converting the traffic that you're sending. If you know those numbers, and they should be in your accounts, then you can work out exactly what these numbers should be. So let's say, for example, your view rate was 35%. And this is just from YouTube. It's very similar from Facebook, but you don't need to know this actual formula. This is the actual formula, but you don't need to worry about this formula. But let's say, for example, your view rate was 35%. Your cost per view was 8 cents. Your click-through rate was 1%, and your website conversion rate was 30%, okay? Now, if you have those numbers, then your lead gen cost will be $9.33, if we're looking at a lead gen opportunity here. But now let's say you change this view rate, and you know what to do to improve that engagement rate, and you actually want it to be down a little bit because you don't want your videos to be really engaging and no one click. You want to just make sure the people that are watching it are the right people. So you might be able to get that view rate down to like 25%, for example. Now, if you do that, that's kind of, there's a few techniques you can do in your videos to achieve that. But also, if you get your click-through rate to go to 1.5%, not a huge jump, like we'll see that variation in most of the ads we create with clients anyway. But let's say, for example, you knew how to bump that number up from 1 to 1.5%, and then you ran those numbers again, your lead gen cost would now be $4.44. That's more than halved the cost of your lead gen by just making some few tweaks to the video ad itself. Now, when you see those sorts of numbers and you know how to make those numbers move, the view rate and the click-through rates, if you know exactly what to do to make those numbers work, and you can, by doing that, you cut your lead gen cost in half, then what you can do, you can start to push that saving back into the cost per view. So then you can say, well, look, I'll spend $16 per view then. And that'll mean that you still can run your account very profitably if those numbers work for you. If $9.33 was working for you and you're happy that you're at $4.44, but you might say, well, do you know what? I just want to saturate the market. I want to spread into new areas. I'm willing to pay 16 cents per view at this point. Well, if you did that, guess what happens? If you take your 16 cents and you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to take 16 cents and now I'm happy to pay that per view, what you'll find is that you can afford to bid more, okay? You can beat the competition, which is amazing because that's what it is. All of these platforms, be it Facebook, YouTube, any other platform as well, Google, it's all just a bidding war, really. Who's willing to pay more? Whoever's willing to pay more will win the day. They get more exposure, and if you can make that convert well, then it makes it much more effective for you as well. So you end up beating the competition. You can ride out any turbulent times that might happen on these platforms, but you've also future-proofed yourself. You've got a creative piece that will just serve you ridiculously well, and it means you don't have to worry because you won't just create one piece of creative. You'll then adapt it and create more and more pieces of creative once you know the formula. So you future-proof yourself from all these different ad networks and everything like that. And also you can outsmart the super geeks. So if there's some amazing agency that have got the best ad buyers in the world, but you have better creative, you'll be able to beat them. they're crying out for better creative. They know that it's around about 80 to 90% of their success will come down to the creative itself once they're scaling. And once you're scaling, you can then beat them at their own game. You don't need to be super, super geek. It helps, of course, but with better creative, you can beat the super geeks. So with this in mind, this video ad formula will allow you to increase your ROAS on any ad network, be it YouTube, be it Facebook, be it Google, or any other network you might be using, like Taboola, Outbrain, those types of things as well. And I want to show you kind of an example of this in case. So this is Tony Policastro. He sells guitar tuition, and he was going through a 2-year slump, and then was kind of got some success, but then he plateaued. He couldn't break through to the next level, and he just couldn't scale any further. It felt like their business had kind of just hit a bit of a rut, really. It's still going okay, but wasn't going as well as they wanted to. And they put this formula into place. So this is what we worked on, and this is the video ad formula. This is how you want to apply it to your business. And now's the point to get pen and paper out, make some notes, because this will just roll it out for you so you know exactly what to do. The first step is make sure you do your research, which is somewhat obvious to say that, but do your research in the right way. So the first thing you want to do in your paper, if you've got it out right now, is write down customer, claim, and offer. Those 3 things are the core structure of your ad. Okay. So let me go through it. First of all, focus on your offer. What are you actually going to offer to people? So what is your offer? Is it a free? Is it like free in exchange for a name and email? Is it go and buy something? What are you promoting? And what is your offer to people? Like, get really super clear on that. Make sure it's the best it could possibly be. Okay. Is it desirable? If it's not as desirable as you think you could make it more desirable. Do everything you can, because again, we're making the best creative we can, and we're kind of limited somewhat by the offer itself. So make sure your offer is ridiculously good. Okay. It's normally I like to promote something that's around about a $50 mark. It can be slightly cheaper, can be more expensive, or it's a lead gen offer. I love doing things like VSLs and webinars and things from YouTube ads, but it can be different for any other platform as well. But make it super desirable. Make people think like, oh wow, I've got to have that. Okay, make it feel like they need it, and so it's not just a want. It's like a obsession. So they feel like I've got to have this thing. But also make it super easy for them to go and get it. Like, I work with a lot of copywriters and that type of thing, and they're always trying to create better and better call to actions and be really, really kind of like trying to create the best offer they possibly can. And that's definitely worthwhile. But once you've got it to a point where you're like, that's really, really good, you can finish there. Like, you don't have to kind of like go crazy on this first offer. But what you do need to do is realize that 50% of this is about making it super easy. Okay, so you've got to make sure your offer is like ridiculously easy for someone to go and get. Don't make it complicated. Just say, right, go here, name an email, you get this thing. Or go here, put your credit card details in, and you get it delivered to your door tomorrow. Or whatever it might be. It's like, make it super easy for people. Don't make it convoluted. Sometimes I see like people trying to go through like a crazy, like go and watch these 5 videos, then sign up to our webinar, then you get a call with us if you qualify, and then I might accept you as a customer. That's just crazy. Just get to the point quickly, okay, and allow people to take the step with you. Now, once you've got really clear with your offer, then you want to think, right, who is this offer for? Who's the customer? Who actually wants this? Because it's really funny when people like look at this and say, well, our customer's everybody. And you're like, well, look at that offer. It's not for everybody. You might say like, okay, I've got gym equipment that I want to put in everybody's home in the world, sort of thing. That this is going to be the perfect thing to get everyone fit. It's like, well, that might be right for some people, but it's not going to be right for everybody. So you want to be really clear with that, because it might be right for everybody, but the offer will be different for people. So if you knew your customer was young and they lived in a city, for example, you might say, look, you can put this in your apartment, and it means you can work out every single day. And if you're young, you might be like, okay, and you don't have that much time in your hands because you're working all day. When you get home, you can work out and you don't have to worry about going to the gym, for example. Whereas if you're an older demographic, and let's say, for example, you're in your retirement years, then you might say to them, look, this is the perfect thing to keep you mobile. You can put it in your house. You can just do light workouts every day. It's so easy to unbox, put up, and everything like that. You're going to love this because it means you can work out in your own way. But males and females are different. Like some men and women want to get absolutely ripped and look the best they can. Some want to have privacy. And so you're pulling out different things for different customers. So you're saying it's not for everybody. Choose who you want to target first. You can target everybody, but you've got to think, right, who's my customer? Who actually wants this? So I know, and you picked that person. So you might say, right, what's their age, gender, and location? Are they young, old? Are they male, female? And what location are they based in? Are they city? Are they in the countryside? Are they in the UK? Are they in the US? Where are they, like, globally? Also, when are you getting in front of them? Is it based on their mobile or is it on their desktop? That'll make a bit of a difference as well. People are starting to consume a lot more on their mobiles these days. And what is it they do as well? Like, let's get into their mindset a little bit. Let's understand what their day-to-day activities are like. Like, let's really understand them a little bit and think about what they go through every day. Because then as soon as we paint that picture in our mind, we can start communicating a lot more effectively with them. Now, are they searching? Are they looking for your gym equipment if that's what you're selling? Are they looking for how to get fit type stuff? How close are they to that buying decision based on what your product is? Or do they just have a shared interest? Are they just into fitness stuff? And as a result, we need to think about how we'd communicate with those people best. Okay, just get really clear with not only who your customer is, but at what point are you contacting them? At what point are you intercepting them? You might be getting in front of them where they're kind of like reviewing gym equipment, or it might be when you're getting in front of them because they just are interested in getting fit. Or they might just have said they're kind of interested in this fitness person once upon a time. It's working out how you're targeting and who you're targeting makes a big difference to the way we want to communicate with them. Now, once we have this, we know what our offer is and we know who our customer is. At that point, we're going to start thinking about what is the claim? What's the thing we're saying this can do? How are we going to really whet their appetite to make them feel like, I've got to check this out. This is actually really interesting. So we tie this into people's big goals as well, and their biggest problems. But when it comes to the claim, we want to be specific. So we want to tell them, like, this is exactly what this product is going to help you do. Okay. And you want to be concrete with it. So don't say something really vague, like this product is going to make your life so much better. It's that's not concrete. That's like, okay, that's not specific or concrete. They can't see that happening. Okay, so you want to make sure it's like they can relate it to their own world immediately. Okay, so my thing, whatever it is you have that you're offering, my offer will fix your problem that you're having right now. Like, that's kind of the statement, not word for word, but this kind of the sort of statement we want to kind of be able to say in the video itself. Like, this product fixes your back pain. This product fixes your lead generation issues. This product, or this system, or this, whatever it is you might have, fixes the problem that the customer that you're thinking about will want that problem fixed. Okay, this thing will help you sleep at night. This will fix your insomnia. Like, you can think about what your offer does, but you want to think about it for your customer, for your avatar that you have, like your customer avatar. So if it's a gym equipment, going back to that in a second, this will fix your privacy issues going to the gym. This will fix your problem of lack of time, so you can work out when you get home every single day. This will fix your mobility issues. Like, it will help you keep strong, and it's got the best exercises ever, so it'll mean that you kind of are able to keep fit and healthy. Whatever it is, it's fixing problems for people. Okay. And you also want to be talking about how long does it take for that problem to be fixed as well. Is it the sort of thing that's going to happen immediately? Like, as soon as you buy this, the problem's gone? Or is it going to take a day? It's going to take a few weeks? Is it going to take a few months? What's going to take to get that problem fixed? How long will that How long will that take? Now, once you've formed your offer, your customer, and your claim, you now know what the foundations are to this ad. You know what you're going to be saying really at this point. Yes, you might not have written down the words just yet, and I'll talk about the structure of your script in a second. But at this point, you're now saying, right, I need to kind of start pulling in all the kind of evidence I have to back up this claim. Like, whatever it is that you are claiming your products can do for people and your customer that you're thinking about, you now need to back that up. Okay, so why you? Why should they trust you? Does it actually work? And can I do it? Those are the three questions that your customers will be holding on to. So when they hear your claim, they're like, they'll be very skeptical. They're like, yeah, of course it'll fix my problem. Yeah, that's what they all say. That's what they'll be thinking, okay? But they're interested enough to think, well, maybe this might work. I want it to work. I'm desperate for it to work, but well, why you? Why would I listen to what you have to say? And okay, well, actually, does it work genuinely? But then it's like, okay, well, great. Well, other people are saying it works really well, but can I do it? That's fine for them, but can I actually do it? So it's those three different angles that you must tackle in your ad. So why you? This is when you build your credibility here. So it could be things like publications. Have you appeared in magazines and newspapers, or have you been featured in certain articles in different places online? Have you got like loads and loads of 5-star reviews? Have you won any awards? Have you got any clips of you presenting on stage? Have you written a best-selling book? Have you got any certifications that you can be using here? What you're doing is you're just trying to build up, like saying, look, I know my stuff. That's what you're kind of trying to build up here. That's really important that you kind of start to show that. Now, I'm saying this like it's a big thing. This is probably 1 or 2 sentences. Like, you're not going to pull on this a lot. You might say, look, you could even allude to the fact that you've got like 100 5-star reviews on Amazon or something like that. It doesn't take you long. People aren't necessarily so interested in finding out everything about you. They're much more interested in just having that box ticked to be like, okay, why you? Oh, okay, fair enough. You seem to be doing some cool stuff. That's all you need to do. It's not much convincing here. You're just kind of talking about the things that you've got that will convince people quickly. Now, does it work? You first of all want to show them how many people have benefited from this. If you've got some good numbers there, if you've helped 100,000 people or something, mention it. That's helpful. So you say, look, we've helped hundreds of thousands of people fix this problem. We know this solution actually works. And you also might have video and written testimonials that you can pull on as well. That's always good. But you just want to be showing proven results. Like I see a lot of people doing like printouts of their bank statements and stuff. I'm not one for that. I don't like when people are doing like these financial claims and things and trying to prove it with like screenshots of things like that. That's not my angle that I like to go on, but it does a certain thing. It proves that this thing works. So you want to show proven results, like any which way you can show people like, look, here's evidence. You can see it right here. It works. You want to prove those results to people. Can I do it? When they're thinking about it, this is the point where you might want to pull on a case study. Now, the case study is going to have to be something that's related to your avatar. So if you're targeting a younger audience with your product, your case study needs to be of somebody who is of the younger audience. It's someone they can see and connect with it and know there's a relationship there to be like, that case study you're showing me is just like me. If they can do it, I can do it. That's what you're kind of trying to say. So you want to try and see if you've got a case study, someone that's very similar to the rest of your avatars you're looking to promote to, where people think, if they got the result, then I can get the result. Now, you also can do man on the street type stuff. So man on the street is where you might take your product and just film people using your product and see the results. I do some work with lots of different brands, and some things we've done in the past is like there's been some breath freshener type products that we've been promoting. I can't say the brand name, unfortunately, but and what they've done is they've gone to restaurants and filmed people as they come out, who are like obviously to like people on a date. They would then give them the product and say, hey, now smell each other's, like let's say smell each other's breath beforehand, and it's like, oh, this smells like the food you've just eaten. Now have this breath freshener, and now smell each other's breath. And they're like, oh wow, that's actually amazing. And by filming those reactions, it makes people feel like, well, that works then. That will work with me. I could do that. And so the man on the street, it feels very much like, oh, this is everyday people getting the same results that I want. And so it's very, very convincing. It's a slight difference to testimonials, because when someone shows me a testimonial, I always think like, yeah, that might just be one of 100 people or something that got the result. And you're just going to hold on to that skepticism. But you can't hold on to skepticism when you see it's like the everyday person is getting great results from this product as well. you could easily do this. Like other ideas, like with the gym, for example, if you had like a home gym system or whatever it might be that you're selling, you might, and you say, right, this is for the older demographic, you might say, right, what we did is we actually took this, we posted it to an old people's home or retirement home, I think they call it. It's probably a bit more PC way of saying it. But we said we took it there and we watched them, we filmed them unboxing it. So this might be like a 70-year-old guy and a 75-year-old woman putting this like heavy equipment potentially together, and you can see them doing it with ease, and then they actually build the whole thing and then they work out on it and they love it. If you film that and document it and you're selling it to an older demographic, they're going to be like, oh, okay, all those questions I had, I can see someone unboxing it, putting it together. You only need to show it like within, like it takes 10 seconds to show that footage, but it's such a convincing piece of footage that people are like, ah, cool, I could do that. Well, if they put it together, I can put it together. If they work out on it, I can work out on it. It's a really compelling piece of creative and an asset that if you get it, you can use it forever. So I really recommend you thinking about these types of assets. If you can collect them, or if you haven't got them yet, film them, because you can use them in all your advertising moving forwards and repurpose that footage in so many different ways for creative in the future. Now, the next thing you want to do is once you've collected some of that proof that you know actually you can back up your claim, now what you want to do is actually show people that it actually works, show how it works. So if you're selling services, you want to show them that you have an action plan, okay? And if you're in the e-commerce space, you want to do a demonstration. So an action plan will be some sort of 3-step system I'd recommend. Make sure it looks like a model or some like proprietary system that you might have, because it really sells. Like any expert that you watch speak on stage normally have some sort of model they'll talk around. They'll say like, okay, here's how you're going to get the result. It's a 3-step system, whatever it might be. So you're going to want to use that system to really promote, like, here's the methodology. You just do this, then you do this, and you do this. Or here's 3 things you need to master, and by pulling it all together, it'll work ridiculously well. So you want to build that system. Now you might have 27 steps to get someone results in your service, but 3, like package it up so it feels like it's 3. Okay, that's all you need to do. Then the great thing is that people believe in systems as well. Innately, we're like, oh, well, if you have a system and you have a game plan, that's fine. I know that I can trust in that. You've developed that. That's a system that seems to be working. I've seen all those testimonials as well. Like, okay, what's the system? And immediately it makes people feel like, oh, it's not actually that complicated. 3 steps, I can do 3 steps, and it's convincing again. Okay, so we want to show them that this is how it works if you have some sort of service-based business. Now, if it's for an e-commerce business, you want to demonstrate it. So you might want to go into the science of how that product works. So we're promoting a company at the moment that does, it's like a drink that you take. It's in a small bottle, and you take the drink the night before. You might have a few drinks with your pals, for example. If you're going to a party and you're going to have lots of drinks, for example, alcoholic drinks, and you take this and you wake up without a hangover. Okay, so the claim is like easy to do. Take this and you'll never have a hangover again. That's like, okay, I'm in. That sounds amazing. But at this point, you want to demonstrate how it works by using the science behind it. So you might say, okay, look, now for the science lesson, let me show you how this product actually works. Now you might take 20 seconds, 30 seconds explaining this. But you've seen this on TV quite a bit. Like you see a lot of hair, like shampoo type adverts out there and conditioner type adverts out there that will say, okay, this is going to give you the silkiest hair in the world and you're going to be beautiful like everybody thinks you'll be and all that sort of good stuff. But when it comes to that point, they normally say, okay, look, let's give you the science lesson and show you how it works. And then what they do is they have this animated bit. Okay, so they have this video demonstration or this animated bit where they go, and it's almost like they look at each strand of hair and they show you when they're using that product, what happens to the hair at a microscopic level. And you're like, wow, if it does that, that I can see now why my hair would be silky smooth with that. If that product does that, that's amazing. And that's the thing, is that people believe animation. Why? I can't, well, there's lots of reasons why, but it's not easy to explain, but it just feels like when you're watching animation, you're watching a science lesson. You're watching something happen in front of you it feels undeniable. And like, okay, I'm buying into the explanation behind here, and it's just further convincing that the system or the thing, that how it works, I will believe in. I've now got a reason why I can believe in this product, and it's showing that science behind it really, really helps. So once you're doing all this, and by the way, don't worry about the structure just yet, just collect these pieces. Go and film them, go and get them if you need to, just collect all these pieces together. Then what you want to do is be aware of a way of building instant trust. Okay, so we've done all this work so far to build up our credibility, talk to them in the way that they're thinking, yep, like, you know what I want, this claim seems to be fixing the problem I've got, this all makes sense. But now you want to build instant trust. That's a big part that probably is not easy. Like, building trust normally takes a long time with people, but I'm going to show you a real clever way you can build trust very, very quickly. So what you want to do is find a slight drawback in your product or your service. And that sounds counterintuitive, but find a slight drawback, and then we're going to use the power of your but. So I know that sounds funny. In the UK, we find that hilarious. But find a slight drawback to your product that doesn't actually play at all with your claim. So it's completely independent of your claim whatsoever. So this slight drawback isn't going to affect the claim at all that you're saying to people. So let's say, for example, you had a restaurant, and this restaurant served the best food in the world, but the problem is the car park, or the kind of like, they don't have valet and the car park is a little way away or something along those lines, or it's difficult to park near there. Now, that is a slight drawback, and it makes people think like, okay, that's a bit of a drawback. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, why would I ever draw attention to a drawback like that? You do that because it builds trust with people. They believe you. They're like, oh, okay, you're opening up about a weakness of your product. It's not a weakness of the product, it's a weakness that's separated to your product. So if you can mention a slight drawback, you get instant trust with people. And then you're going to use the power of but. Okay, so let me explain the power of your but. So you've probably been working with people in your lifetime at some capacity, and someone's come to you and they said, look, I love the work you're doing, but you really need to start doing it in this way instead, or words to that effect. I love, like, you did really, really well here, but just make sure next time you just focus a little bit more on this. Now, they might be full of good intent, but the only information that we get from people when they say things like that is the negative, right? We only listen to, like, someone said, you're doing a great job, but I would just recommend you do this. All you hear is that you failed in that one area they talked to you about, like that negative area that they pulled up. And what you're doing here is the word but is a very, very like powerful psychological pattern of language, because you're saying, you think you're being nice to people when you say, hey, you're doing great, but you're doing badly over here. You want to try and, like, you're thinking, oh, that offsets it like slightly. It's a nicer way of saying things, but they don't receive it in that way. Humans, we do not receive information and listen to the good stuff and hold on to that. We listen to the bad stuff and hold on to that stuff. If you say it in this way, because your positive is negated by the word but what you say after the word but is so much stronger. People's ears prick up and we're like, okay, I'm listening to this bit that you're just about to say, oh, I'm failing this area. Okay, fine, that's what I'm gonna remember. So the way you do that, instead of doing that, you say no to that approach, but just a really easy thing to do, just flip it around, okay? So you would say, okay, some feedback for you. I reckon that you could do this slightly better over here, but overall, you're doing really, really well. That makes people feel so much better, because it's like, cool, you pulled me up on the thing that I need to fix, but I'm doing great. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna remember the great bit, but I also know that I need to fix something. It's such a subtle language pattern, but it makes such a big difference to people. So let me give you an example here. If I said to you, like, look, the financial plan looks really good, but it's going to take a long time to implement, the feeling you have is, okay, it's not that good and it's going to take ages. If I flip it around, I said, look, it may take some time, but the financial plan looks good. You're like, okay, cool, I get that. That's cool, that's fine. It's just a language pattern. So what you want to do is find your slight drawback, say the word but, and then deliver the strongest element of your argument. So you want to say something like, look, yes, like when you come here, you will find the parking is a little bit out of the way, but when you sit down at our restaurant, you're going to be served the best food you've ever tasted. So you're going to generate that trust with them, the fact that you're being honest with them. You've negated that problem by saying the word but they still trust you. and then you deliver the strongest element of your argument. So they're like, okay, I'm in. And it just instantly feels trust with people. So as a cool strategy to use in your videos. Now, when it comes to your call to action, be super clear. Tell them exactly what to go and do and make it very, very appealing. So summarize what they're getting and the benefits. Show them step by step what to expect and make it really easy. Okay, so I wouldn't say click here to find out more. I wouldn't do that. I would say click here, fill in your name and email, and we're going to send you an email, and in that email has got the package of goods that we've got for you, whatever it might be. But you're wanting to kind of really clearly future pace it for them so they can imagine what it's going to be like. And then really be very clear with the call to action. Say, go and click here right now. It will work incredibly well for you. Okay, now here's the script structure. Okay, so we've got speak to your customers' problems and desires. So at the very start, you might say, hey, if you're looking for this, like to solve this problem, listen in. Or you might say, hey, if you really want to achieve the best body of your life, like listen in. So you're just speaking to the exact problem that you know your customer has. Okay, or hey, if you're wanting to work out more, but you're finding you really don't have time, and when you get back from work, you're knackered and you can't be bothered, listening, because I've got something that I think you're going to be really interested in. Okay, you're just pulling them in based on who your customer is and who your avatar is and what you know their problems are from that research section. Then what you want to do is make sure you show empathy. Let them know, like, look, I get it. I understand what it's like. Like, show them how you know that. Like, so be aware of like the fact that you can just say to them, look, I get it, I understand. All of our customers go through a very similar thing until they figure out this thing. Okay, so just show that empathy. It's not sympathy. You're not saying, like, you're not in that space where you're trying to sympathize with them, or instead you're saying, it's like, I get it, let's fix it. Okay. The thing you want to do then is merge into stating your claim. So you might say, look, I get it, it's tough, and we're going to fix it right now because I'm going to show you how you can do this and fix your problem forever in just 6 weeks, or whatever the claim is going to be. Okay. Then you might like to, it's optional at this stage, is build the backstory. So you might say, look, a few years ago, I looked at trying to create the very best products that will solve this problem forever. I had this problem, my parents had this problem, it's a hereditary issue, whatever it might be. And what you're doing is you're building a bit of a backstory so they can understand why the product exists in the first place. It is optional, and to be fair, all these steps are optional. Get what you can together to use this structure. Then what you want to do is build the credibility of you as a company or as a brand. So you're going to start to introduce your product and say why it's so good, where you featured, all the kind of stage presentations, anything else that you can build up your credibility. And this is the point where you open up that case study or the man on the street thing. You might say, look, we took this product to the street and we gave it to 5 different people, and here's what they had, like, and here's what happened. Okay. Or it might be the sort of thing we say, look, we had this opened up with a case study. And what you're doing is you're doing 2 things. One, you're saying, first of all, as we talked about earlier, you're saying this is going to work for you individually. Great. This is actually perfect for you. But also you're opening up a loop. And as soon as you open up a loop, it means people want to stick around and they listen in more as well. So open up a story loop means that as soon as you started a story, they want to hear the ending of it. So open up with that case study. Then we wanted to give your action plan or that demonstration of your product, show people how it works specifically so they can buy into it. Then you want to say, look, so you explain that science bit, probably by animation as well. Then you come out of that and you go into like, look, let me show you actually how it works with people, and close your case study at that point. Like, hey, so we did this with these people and look at the results. It's amazing. And you can go into like their testimonials, their vox pops. So you're like, oh, actually, this does actually work for people just like me. And then you want to follow it with further proof. So this is where you bring in your video testimonials or your written testimonials. You say, look, you've seen it work with these people who are just like you. This has worked with thousands of people. Have a listen to what they have to say. Okay, so you're giving that further proof at this point. Then use your but at this point to mention that drawback, negate it with the word but, and then deliver the strongest element of your argument, and then move into your call to action. Summarize it, make sure you're super crystal clear with what's on offer, and tell them exactly how to go and get it. That is the structure to your script. And if you do it like that, you're going to find it works incredibly well. Now, you might be thinking, well, how is this all going to be filmed? How does this put all together? Because the great thing about this, when you speak to your customers' problems and desires, you can speak directly to camera, being the presenter if you wish to. You can get someone else to do it, or it can be done with voiceover and just text on a screen, for example. When you show empathy, again, that can follow on from the first section. So you can say, look, I get it, like, or we understand as a business, we know what it's like, and then state the claim as well. Like that can all be done if you wish to via voiceover, or you presenting, or having a presenter present. When you build a backstory, that can now be like B-roll. You can be filmed like when you first started creating the product in the first place. You can show some original prototypes or whatever it might be if it's a physical product. Or if you're like talk about the backstory, you might say like, I worked with people for years in consulting, and just have like looking at like you working with a client, for example. That could just be B-roll content. Then when it builds your credibility, if you're speaking on stage or you've got a book or you're featured in articles, show that. You don't need to be in the video at this point. When you open with a case study, you're probably going to want to show images of that client, so you can show that case study. When you give the action plan, that will all be animated. When you close your case study, again, that can be just straight back into the man on the street or the customer case study as well. So again, it doesn't have to be you in the video. When you give further proof, that's grabbing the testimonials of other people. So again, B-roll and also footage that you've already got. Using your butt, you might want to be in video here or have the presenter here. So you deliver like a really strong element straight down the barrel of the camera. And then when you have the call to action, you probably want to animate that and present in it a little bit as well. So there's those kind of few aspects, but they don't need to be seeing you on camera much at all. A lot of this will be animated or using B-roll or using footage that you've already got. And it's actually not going to demand much of you. You're more kind of like just stitching these pieces together to make sure it flows nicely. But really, like all of this might take you 2 to 3 minutes to put a really strong video ad together. And if you get that down and you get it working perfectly, man, you're going to create such a cool video that's going to convert like crazy if you use this structure. Now, just to kind of show you how you can increase the click-through rates, if you have a quick watch of this video, at the end of it, you're going to see something very special that happens.
Take my free body type quiz right now, and let's get you on a plan that you actually enjoy following and that actually works. Click the link wherever it is on this video, and I'll see you on the other side.
Okay, so I appreciate it's a bit glitchy, but on the right-hand side, this is a split test. You can see that we've got a countdown timer at the end of the video. It just counts down from 5 down to 0. And what we're doing at the end of the video, we're giving people time to click. So on YouTube, it's really important that people have that time at the end of the video to stick around and then click through. So we did this as a test, and we found that with this outro of the video, it bumped the click-through rates by up to 32%, which is crazy. We had like so many more people clicking from that video purely from that edit. So this is this worked incredibly well for us. So I'd really encourage you having these countdown timers at the end of your video, because it not only gives people time to click, it also adds that natural scarcity for people to be like, oh, okay, I better click. There's so many people on the fence at the end of a video, and by giving that countdown timer at the end and bumping those numbers up, it works incredibly well. Another thing we've been testing recently is, well, you have a watch of this video.
I'm Todd Brown, and I'm the expert that marketing experts come to when dating advice. Our free workshop will show you how to dramatically increase your market with one evergreen marketing campaign. Click here and learn for free.
Okay, you can see that the call to action, the countdown timer is even bigger. The bigger you get, the better it works. It tends to be that way. But the big thing that we were doing here really is getting this kind of like in the top left-hand corner, you've got this get ready to click. We're priming people to say, hey, are you ready? Because you're gonna have to click in a second. And just by telling them that, we are seeing right now a 40% increase in the click-through rates, which again,
Oh my God.
Yeah, right?
That's huge.
It's amazing. So I see so many people on YouTube, and I'm more YouTube focused, but we see so many people watching all the way through and then not clicking. Like your engagement rate, your view rate can be really high, and people are really interested, but you really need to just kind of get the pieces together that work to make people actually click. So when you actually tell them exactly and you get your call to action perfect, and then you add in these edit bits like get ready to click and the countdown timer, that 40% increase in click-through rate is just insane for us. It makes all the difference. And this opens up all the platforms for us. We get better results purely because of these, like the way we structure the ads. So going back to this case study we had before, this is Tony Policastro and Levi, who runs runs the advertising, all the show, on the funnels and all the marketing behind everything. One ad that we created with them, one ad tripled their business last year. We could use it on Facebook, we could use it on YouTube, and it tripled their business last year. They say they finally slept at night, because I know what it's like. You're building a business, you plateau, it's worrying, it's scary. You think, oh, where's this business going? It was going so well, and now it's plateaued a little bit. That's natural, but sometimes this video can really help you just break through to a whole new audience and let you grow again. They also say they have monetary bandwidth, so they can test stuff. They're not kind of like worried about where they're going next. They can actually just like relax and make decisions and take tests and say, okay, that didn't work. That's not the end of the world. Let's move on. And so they can have this bandwidth to play around a little bit. They've also expanded their team as a result of this, and their advertising has become reliable. This is the thing that's so important, is that you just can trust in the system now. You don't have these huge fluctuations. Video ads that convert like crazy means you beat the competition, means that you're in charge, and makes you and your life so much easier. So you want these pieces of creative in your company that work incredibly well. So this is not easy. Don't get me wrong, like this is not easy work to put all this together, but it is very, very doable, and it will unlock all the ad platforms for you. So if you're brand new, to advertising, and you haven't done YouTube ads or Facebook ads before, this is a great place to get started. Build all this assets up, and you can create some amazing videos. If you are at the pro level and you're like scaling and things are going incredibly well, again, this is perfect. Like, this is the most powerful way that I know of, and I spend a lot of money on advertising every single day. These ads structured like this are psychologically tuned in to make people want to go and buy your products and your services. And so I'd really highly recommend you follow that format, because it's just a proven formula that works incredibly well. So now it's your turn. So what I'd love you to do is, if you actually create a video, if you go and do this and put it into action, and then you get in touch with me, just tell me about it. Just connect with me on Facebook if you wish, and just message me, show me your ad, and I will review it. And I'll have a look at it like this, like Jim Carrey does, and have a real close look at your video and give you a review and show you exactly what's going on. Cool. So that's been the YouTube ad formula that sells any product or service. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that come up. Hopefully it's been very, very useful. And let's crack on with some Q&A. Or Jenna, if you want to take over.
Yeah, and for those of you, I know that we're going a little over time than we normally do. So don't worry, the recording is going to be available to you inside your lab dashboard within 24 hours. So you can go do your stuff or whatever you need to do. But for those of you who still want to stay for Q&A, that's what we're going to do here. First of all, I appreciate any reference to Ace Ventura and how many times you said the word but.
Yeah.
So Carol wants to know, as far as, spend goes, what do you recommend for the majority of us who don't have a big budget, like 15K per month, and they're just starting out? Where do you usually start?
Okay, cool. So good question. This is a question not about budget. I always find like budget a funny question, because it's a very corporate way of thinking. So you might find like some of our bigger clients will be like, okay, we've worked out the budget for the year, you get this much budget per month. And they have to allocate that amount of budget to advertising. With a smaller business, we don't necessarily do that quite so much. We might put some test budget aside and say, okay, cool, we're happy to give this a test. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. What I'll do instead is I'd work out the numbers to be like, if it's an e-commerce product, like what are you prepared to pay for per customer? What does that number look like? And normally I like to try and take about a 20% margin as just pure profit for the business. Like that goes straight into your back pocket. That's the business. So if you're selling a $100 product, you want to be acquiring a sale for $80. Like that's kind of where you want to be at. And if you are doing lead gen, then you just need to know what you're prepared to pay for a lead. Now that'll come down to your conversion rates and your average order values and things like that, but just work it backwards. So you're just like, okay, I know I can spend, if I spend $10 per lead, they're worth about $30 to me, like over a 5-week period or something along those lines. And so if I've got the cash flow to run with that, I know that I'll be prepared to pay $10 every day of the week if I know they're giving me $30. Or if I'm making, if it's selling a product for $100 and there's lots of upsells and cross sells later, but I'm selling it in for $80, then I'm making profit immediately. and I'm happy to go crazy on advertising. So I just look at it much more from a perspective of take my margin, whatever that margin wants to be, and then advertise based on, is this being profitable from day one? If it is, then scale it. Now, when you're at growth, like when you're kind of like starting out, obviously make the numbers work really well from day one. So you can be very, very focused on your targeting. You can make sure you're just targeting exactly the right people. And so you know your numbers should look good. As you start to scale, you might be thinking, well, I don't need so much margin any longer because I can see the back end is performing ridiculously well. Now let's be a little bit more aggressive. I don't need to take such a margin any longer. But then you might get to the point where you're like really scaling aggressively and you're happy to lose money on the front end because you know your back end is so strong. But then you can afford to pay more than the competition and you can really go for it. So let's say, for example, you're selling a $100 product, but it costs you $120 to acquire that customer. So you're losing $20 on the front end. You might think, well, that's you're losing money. But then if you think like, okay, cool, well, those people will go and buy a load more other stuff in a few weeks' time, and they might go and buy our big course or our big like product afterwards, and that's where all the money is made. Then you're like, great, well, I'm happy to lose money on the front end because I know I'll make it up on the back end. But then you've got a cash flow issue at that point. So I don't necessarily look at it from budgets and how much I allocate. I might just say, right, I'm going to give this $100 to test it out and see if it works or not, and then look at those numbers as I go. But obviously, if it's lead gen, it's easier to find out those numbers quicker. If it's a product that you're selling for a high ticket item, then it's a little bit more difficult because you've got to be prepared to spend more money because you know your conversion rates are probably going to be lower.
That makes sense. This question is from BJ. He wants to know, how long should the video be if the ad is to generate an email offering, generate an email offering a free video to help solve their problem?
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
so it's like
sorry.
a video trade, a VSL or something like that. Yeah, I think I get it. So with that, if you're going on to another video as like a video training, you can afford your initial video, this YouTube ad or this ad that you're going to use on multiple platforms. You can afford for that to be a little bit shorter because you're going to be teasing people with the ad to go and watch next. So you can probably go for I would recommend like a 2-minute, maybe 90 seconds type video for that type of promotion. If I was selling a physical product, I'd probably go for probably like a 3-minute ad or something along those lines and build it in a little bit stronger there. But if you've got amazing content, like people are going to like it, so you can afford for it to be a little bit longer. Just be as concise as possible, but don't kill any of the good stuff that's in the video. Just maybe try and work out how you can shorten it up a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you use this formula for sales video on your storefront? This is from Phil.
Yes. I mean, we're primarily looking here as a YouTube ad, but as I said earlier, what you can do is say, right, put this on a sales page. If you know it works particularly well, your call to action might differ at that point because you're getting people to actually go and buy the product. But if you had it on your storefront, I mean, I love single product e-commerce stores, like where they have a page dedicated to one product and it doesn't send anybody anywhere else. We send it there, we know what the traffic's there for, and we know we can build some remarketing off the back of it as well. But you could use this ad for sure on a video, because one of the great things you can do is then you can have image ads and you can have text ads as well, potentially, all over the internet, and then points to this video that is on your site. So you're kind of opening up the ad networks again to say, like, go and watch our video that will show you how this product works so well, something like this. So you can start to kind of borrow across all ad platforms. If your video converts like crazy, that's kind of will really, really benefit you.
Cool, I like that. Let's see. Well, we have a lot more questions, but we're kind of getting near the 15-minute after 3 mark. For those of you that still have questions for Tom, he is inside the Digital Marketer Engage Facebook group if you're a lab member. And he also, is on Facebook and happy to connect and happy to help you out and answer your questions. Obviously, there's so much we could dig into and have a million office hours on. So if you have a recommendation for we learned a little bit about this in this office hours, but I'd love to have another office hours about blank. There's a survey when you exit the webinar, and I would love to know that. Until then, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Tom, this was stellar as always. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you. And if anyone's out there that's like taken anything from this, because this is a brand new presentation for me as well, like I haven't presented on this stuff before. So if there's anything that people have taken away from this and find really useful, please just like leave it in the Facebook group and just let me know what your takeaway was, what you thought was really good. Because I just want to make sure that I'm hitting home with this as well. So yeah, I'd really appreciate that if people could do that.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, everyone, we'll see you next Thursday, as always, at 2 p.m. Central. And Tom, hopefully we'll see you around these parts sometime soon.
I'll be there soon. Thanks, Jenna.
Bye.